Good afternoon, and I'm Celeste Granillo. Today is Monday, March the 12th, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me once again for another installment of Breakthrough News. A lot has been going on the past few days, and I'd like to take the time to announce something that makes me quite sad and seems like an end of an era, and that is the downfall of Toys R Us. Now, it might not be important to you, but it's important to me, and I remember as a child watching their commercials on TV and singing along with Jeffrey, and they have had their issues for a while, going back to 2005. And with the rise of Walmart, that gave them early competition, but nothing compared to what Amazon did. And then on top of that, I see a lot of young kids nowadays, even 1, 2, 3 years old, with iPads in their hands and even their parents' iPhones. I don't think that's the best idea, but what do I know? And so instead of that, I see them playing with those things rather than dolls and trucks and things like that. So all of that just culminated to the ending of the toy sector, which of course could all go under the retail apocalypse like everybody has claimed that there is. But they have been unable to find a buyer, and they've been unable to restructure their debt. Their outstanding debt is around $5 billion. They have declared bankruptcy. And like I said, they were unable to find a buyer, so they just have no choice. This is the last thing they could essentially do. And the 2017 holiday sales were not good, and I think that was like their Hail Mary. So it's a disappointment. It makes me very sad. And like I said, an end of an era. My parents used to go there and buy our gifts there every Christmas. So I guess everything's gonna go to Amazon sooner or later, but another one is gone. Makes me sad. So on top of that, the markets didn't do as great today. I'm watching the Dow futures are going back and forth as well, but the NASDAQ has done well, and I think that the NASDAQ continues to carry the markets. So that's good news in some way, although people are worried about inflation. Although I've heard some people say don't worry about it, and some people said please worry about it. When you hear contrasting views, I tend to go with worrying about it, only because of all of the money that's coming back from the corporations when Trump signed that tax reform. And when you have billions and billions of dollars coming back into the country, and then the trillions of dollars that have been created, since Obama took office and with quantitative easing, there's a lot of money. So, that's just my opinion. Some people say hyperinflation is coming, but this is your time to prepare for it. So find something substantial. There's people preparing for it by buying toilet paper and water, and then there's some people preparing by buying cryptocurrencies and gold and silver and copper and real estate. Anything substantial. So just be aware of that and think about that. Cryptocurrencies, though, are taking a beating, and they haven't done well. A lot of that goes to, and it seems like it's been moving a lot faster lately, is worldwide regulation of them. Now, it's a bit of a disappointment for investors in cryptocurrency, because that was the whole point of their investment, was to get out of traditional banking. And after what happened in 2008 and the bank bail-ins in Cyprus a few years after that, people are saying, why do I want to be in traditional banking? And I understand, especially if you research the Dodd-Frank bill. You are no longer a depositor. You're now an unsecured creditor. And that makes people nervous. So they've jumped to cryptocurrencies. They've even taken their money out and have held it. I wouldn't do that unless you had firearms. But on top of which, they've also bought gold and silver and other precious metals. So if you're going to invest, do your due diligence, like I've said all along, and especially with cryptocurrencies. They continue to plunge. Their moods are very violent swings, you see. Bitcoin, remember in December, it was nearly 20,000, and today it's barely 9,000. It was in the 8s over the weekend. Ripple's gone down. Litecoin has gone down. They're all taking a beating. Although Ripple had a little bit of a promise last week when the Japanese, there was about a few banks in Japan who wanted to use their technology. There's talk about certain banks in the West wanting to use their technology, but with this regulation wanting to come, a lot of people are just disappointed in that. Now, do I want regulation or do I not want regulation? I'm honestly unsure. There's a lot of people that have taken this opportunity to scam others and things like that, so maybe that would help. But people who are invested or who just like to follow along the news like I do, I love following their the cryptocurrency news. You know, they're expecting regulation. There's too much money involved for governments to not want to get in and get their part of it too. So like I said, disappointing, but you never know. Maybe someone else will figure out a different coin to get away from all of that. You never know. Like I said, that's the great thing about that market. We just never know what's going to happen, but expect regulations. And I've been seeing that slowly and slowly over the news, and that's definitely coming. Last week I talked about Trump visiting Kim Jong-un, and they're still deciding an exact date. I'm sure the date has already been set, but they're keeping us all in suspense. I would pay everything to be in that meeting, but I'm very excited that it's happening. And I'm excited for the people of North Korea and South Korea and our country and even China. Some people have said, I heard this on I saw this in the LA Times, I've heard this on CNN. Some people were stating that Trump is giving Kim the photo op that Kim wants. But I don't see it that way. I think Kim is in a corner and China's fed up with him. Like I said, even Russia's tired of him. So I think he's the one in the corner, and I think this is his last chance. I'm sure he enjoys being the leader of this place, and he would rather just, make concessions rather than being kicked off his throne, if you will. This is the pragmatic approach, and I would rather see it like this rather than war. So keep an eye on that. I'm intrigued what's going to happen there, and I think we have a real chance of peace finally for that peninsula. And two, remember, North and South Korea are still technically at a state of war. When the Korean War ended, it was just a deal. It was an armistice just to stop it, and that's it. So they are still technically at war, and I'd like to see a true lasting peace occur there for them. Another interesting meeting, and this just came over the wires, Trump will meet with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman next week. And I think that's interesting. MBS, as everybody calls the Crown Prince. He's a very young guy. He's 32 years old. He grew up a little more with Western mentality. I've heard rumors that he grew up playing video games on PlayStation. He's tired of the old ways of Saudi Arabia. He gave a report to the Washington Post, and he said that he's grateful for the American influence on the kingdom. He said that if they haven't had the assistance and being allies with the United States, they would have ended up like North Korea, which I think is a huge statement for him to make. So he wants to change the kingdom, and he wants to save it because he knows that their oil reserves are getting low. And I've always thought that he has a mentality to make the kingdom of Saudi Arabia more like the United Arab Emirates. They too have gone down on oil and things like that, so they've resorted to tourism. And MBS has plans of something like that himself. He wants to take an area of the Red Sea and make these luxury islands and lagoons there. And he wants to create economic zones to work in the fields of robotics and biotechnology, renewable energy. He's even opened up the stadiums for women to attend events. He allowed a female singer to perform in public earlier last year. He also ended the ban on females driving in the kingdom. He even wants to start issuing tourist visas. he is totally changing the way things are there, and I think that's a great thing. He's tired of the fundamentalism that's rotting at the core of the country, he believes, and he wants to take their resources and take it for a ride and see where it goes. As long as they can deal with, what's going on in Yemen, I would support him more, but I commend the changes that he wants to make and what he's going to continue to make. And I wonder what's going to happen in Saudi Arabia after he meets with Trump. And not to be too conspiratorial, but the last time when Trump went over there, not too long after that, all of a sudden that famous 2017 purge happened. So I'm curious what's going to happen after this meeting. So just stay tuned. So thank you so much for joining me today. We have a lot coming up soon. Like I said before, my brother and I, we're going to start a prepping series. We're going to start interviewing and having guests on our show. If you guys have any topics, anything you'd like to talk about or you'd like us to research, please leave comments below. I would also like to thank the new subscribers that have watched and liked and subscribed. I'm pretty excited about that, and if you like this, please click like, leave any messages below, we'll get back to you. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Take care.